Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Okay, so you're welcome to Nairametrics. All right. What our viewers to know that this is one of the leading frontline public interest lawyer by the name of Opatola Victor. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So right now, you are being one of the frontline public interest lawyers in the country, filing several applications to seek interpretations on some issues like appointments into some institutions. Now, I'd like to start right away. There are calls for protest by several quarters this August, right? And the president has said people should not come out, people should not burn out the country. So I want to start by asking you, what does the law say about protests? What will amount to legality or illegality when it comes to protest in Nigeria? Can we have you, sir?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Basically, protest in Nigeria is a combination of so many rights and freedom of every citizen in this country. So first of all, freedom of expression. Protest is a form of expression. Freedom of movement. Protest is a form of freedom of movement. Then freedom of association. So all these freedoms put together forms the right to protest. So protest, as we have it currently under the Constitution, protest is a right. And it is above the pay grade of any public official to say that Nigerians should not protest or that Nigerians cannot protest, because it's a constitutional right. And the only derogations to this right is a validly enacted law. That is the only derogation to this right. So the Inspector General of Police coming out to say Nigerians should not protest, or the DG of DSS coming to say Nigerians, that's beyond their pay grade. It's only a validly enacted law that can derogate from these rights of Nigeria. So basically, what are the rights of protesters in Nigeria? Protesters, they have various considerable numbers of rights. They have rights to human dignity. So in the process of people expressing their right to freedom of expression, the police must understand that these people have a right to freedom of to right to dignity. They have a right to dignity. They have a right to life. So first of all, because they are expressing their rights, when the police accost them, they must treat them with dignity. They must observe the anti-torture laws of this country. Because somebody is protesting does not mean when you arrest such person for whatever reason, you torture the person. You don't torture the person. They have right to life. The police has no right to kill any protester. So you can't kill any protester. They have right to life. And also importantly, they have right to their lawyers. Anytime a protester is arrested in Nigeria, such protester has a right to his or her lawyer. So now, what are the ambits of the powers of the police? We understand that these rights that citizens have, they are not total in a sense. Like I said earlier on, it's a law. Laws are what can derogate from it. So if there's a validly enacted law, it can derogate from it. But what are the ambits of the powers of the police? Generally, under the Police Act, the powers of the police is generally to maintain law and order. That's the powers of the police. So when you go to section 80, 84, 86 of the police, the recent Police Act, it gives the police the powers to to protect protesters. So, first of all, the police cannot stop people from protesting. The police cannot tell them to come and take permission to protest. The only thing the law gives the police the power to do, okay, it gives the police the powers to do a considerable number of things. The first, maintain law and order. In a bid to maintain law and order, what the police can do, pursuant to the Police Act, is to protect these people expressing their freedom of expression through protest. Protect them. Whenever they are protesting, protect them to ensure that this protest is not hijacked by hoodlums, as was seen previously.
Yeah.
And another thing, where it is also important, if I was to advise the federal government, if I was to advise the attorney and the Inspector General of Police, I would advise them that instead of putting their resources to stop this protest, they should otherwise do two major things. First of all, they should understand that the powers of the police is to protect these protesters. That's the first thing, why they are protesting, to ensure that it is not hijacked. Then secondly, to ensure that police who will be around during this protest and are effectively sensitized to know the rights of citizens. First of all, to know their rights. Second of all, to apply international best practices, when protests of this nature, when it's being observed by citizens, to understand the limits of the application. The to firearms guide of the 2019 police firearms guide, it states that, that's guideline 237. It states that, the use of ammunition, the use of weapon, the use of guns, thereabout, is only in exceptional circumstances. What are these exceptional circumstances? It states that, first of all, where the life of the policeman is in obvious danger and there is no other way around it. In such instance, it can use force. The second thing, where the life of another person is in extreme danger and there is no other way such police officer can save such life, and it lists some other things, but these are examples, few exceptional circumstances where the police can use lethal force against protesters. And let me state very quickly, protesters should also understand their rights under the law. First of all, you have a right to express freedom of expression. You have a right to protest under the law. But in observing this protest, hindsight will teach us, that, the Nigerian police force, chances are, given what was obtainable in the past, chances are that they might want to violate citizens' rights, as the case may be. So protesters should coordinate themselves in a way that they will get, they should coordinate themselves. For instance, now, any protester going out should ensure that it goes out in groups to protest, in groups or with his or her friend. Why I actually say this is, in case any protester is arrested, there should be a system of immediate reportage, to who or anybody or a group of organizations coordinating this protest. Because previously, if you remember NSAS, we still understand the fact that there are a number of people who were arrested during NSAS and are still incarcerated as we speak, maybe under awaiting trial or whatever it is. So this protest, we understand it's a right, but should be coordinated. There should be a legal desk, a legal desk where individuals who are arrested processed immediately in order for them to secure bail, or in order for a lawyer to represent them in court as soon as possible.
Okay, now I'll ask you the next question, right? Like the previous protests have been held across the country, there are situations where protesters shut down essential services like the airports, hospitals, electricity companies. Are they protected under the law to shut down these? Are there laws barring protesters from shutting down essential services of the country? What's your take on that?
An important thing to understand is that while you are protesting, the law envisaged that such protests should be peaceful. The law envisaged that in the process of exercising your right, you observe the right of other people. So in shutting down major infrastructures, it is not allowed under the law. But we must also understand that, in the previous protest, this protest, was hijacked, by certain hoodlums. There are evidences where some of those that hijacked these hoodlums were known to be sponsored by people in government, as the case may be. So Nigerian youth has proven themselves to be capable of their own affairs. They have shown that they can conduct peaceful protests in Nigeria.
Okay, so now let me take you to another public interest issue that has to do with appointment into some agencies. Like, for instance, we have the Pension Reform Act, then we have the Act of the EFCC, making specific reference to what they call cognate experience. So what's your take on that? There are critics who believe that when you say cognate experience, it has to do with related experience in a particular field. But what's your take on that? For instance, the industry and pension, EFCC, is it the people that are in that system that should be there according to the laws binding those agencies, or what's your take on that? Because I know you're in court over these matters.
Yes. So
Yeah.
first of all, we must understand that our legal drafters, starting from the Constitution to the Act of National Assembly to various laws of, states in Nigeria, the legal drafters, those that draft our law, they are inelegant when they are drafting these laws. So I'll give you an example. So this pension DG matter, for instance, now, what stops the legal drafters, to be specific, to be exact, the DG of Pension Commission will come from so, and so. There is no gain, there is no benefit in unnecessary verbosity. The way these laws are drafted endanger confusion. The unnecessary verbosity, unnecessary use of words, what it only leads to is confusion. So our legal drafters must do better. Gone are those days of duplicity of words and using unnecessary verbosity in drafting legislations. So our legal drafters need to do better. There is benefit in simplicity and exact use of words.
Okay.
Having said that, the issue of the DG of the Pension Commission, Section 26, when you look at Section 26 of the Act, when you look at the entire Act itself, when you look at the sensitivity of the pension sector, you will appreciate and understand why that particular section is requiring somebody with related experience in the pension sector and 15 years cognate experience. Now, pension is a very, very sensitive matter in all countries of the world. So where it is gotten wrongly, it can, throw the country into turmoil. So it's very, very sensitive. So when we say that whoever is heading the Pension Commission should have certain kind of experiences, it is exact that it should relate to experience within pension. commission or pension-related matter. The danger in proliferating the meaning of pension-related matter and saying that somebody in the banking sector, has a related experience or related qualification to pension is a very dangerous thing to say, because whatever we are doing, we must understand that we are setting precedents. And politicians have a way of exploiting these precedents that we are setting. For instance, now, if you're saying somebody in the banking sector has related experience to be the head of Pencom, then because it relates to finance and other things, then don't forget that a lawyer too might come up tomorrow and say that a government can come up and say a lawyer, law is related to law, they are related matter. So a lawyer, a legal practice. So these are dangers of the kind of, guys, when you look at the sensitive nature of Pencom, you will realize that that office requires somebody with experience in pension fund, in order to appreciate the challenges in the sector, the problems in the sector, in order to appreciate it, and most importantly, to understand the policy process of that sector. So it is not enough that somebody from the banking sector. Now, when we say banking sector is different from pension sector when you look at the work that these people do. Somebody in the banking sector will be dealing with account balancing and all these things. But when it comes to pension sector, it's quite different. You're talking about long-term investment. You're talking about serious policies that, if care is not taken, can negatively impact the country. So experience in the banking sector does not necessarily translate to experience in the pension sector. When you look at the experience, when you even look at the qualifying certificate, for a pension fund, for somebody working in pension, or maybe PFA and others, as the case may be, the qualifying certificate that you go for, or courses that you go for, is not necessarily the same as those that somebody in the banking sector will go for, as the case may be. So all these things will show that there's difference between the banking sector and the pension sector. What the law emphasizes is somebody in the pension sector to understand the history, the trajectory, the policy mistakes of past administration, the policy gains, areas in which there's a need for intervention policy-wise.
Okay.
Areas in need for administrative intelligence, as the case may be, over those who are custodian of pension funds, or those who are administrators of pension funds, as the case may be. So all these things, when you look at all these things, when you look at the entire pension fund law in Nigeria, so all these things will point to one thing, that what the law envisages in its entirety is that whoever is heading the pension, what's the name in Nigeria, should definitely come from pension background, not banking background, not law background, not accounting background, pension background, so as to appreciate what is actually happening in that sector.
Okay, so briefly and lastly, the Constitution, in I think section 171 or 172, gives the president the power to appoint. So
definitely,
yeah, don't you think the Constitution is supreme to any other act?
Yes, definitely. It's a given that the Constitution is the ground norm, is supreme. But to appoint, to appoint what? How? It is the enabling law of the organization or the parastatal or the commission that will now go ahead to define the how and the when. The provision of the Constitution gives the president the powers to make certain appointments. Then the details of the appointment, the how, the when, the circumstances and everything will come from the enabling laws. So there's no contradiction in these two things. There's no contradiction at all.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. It's nice to have you on our platform. We sincerely appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right.
If I may add very quickly, I don't know if it's part of your iteration in regards to the recent FX iteration and the federal government taxation of banks in relation to FX. The part of the iteration.
Okay, you want to say something about it? Okay, yes, you can.
No, if it's not part of the iteration, no problem. We can make that another day.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you.
Super.
Thank you.